Pink Shorts is one of a live democracy republic, both exposed and approved. This is writing Emerald. They knew. Safety video. This is Auditorium Station. Next stop is Seneca, Nor Nation of Indians Reservation. Davis iPhone. Restitution of all state and federal funds is applicable to a volunteer status of 18 U.S. Code 1385. What's in your wallet?
Quiet anticipation.
Remember, 47 U.S. Code 222.
I won't delay it.
Privacy of customer information. And MerriweatherA.Law, a list of careers you can have in 2 years.
Anticipation of this readout that
Hello, media. How are you?
that I wanted to ask you more about the president's conversation with Prime Minister Erdogan. Okay. I was struck by the line in the readout that said that the two leaders.
Today's show is voted by Aliens X19.
Integrity of Iraq. Given that the Prime Minister of Turkey doesn't seem to really care a whole ton about the sovereignty of Iraq as it relates to the troops that they
Hello,
have there.
Principal. How are you?
If we would be right to read between the lines a little bit of that in terms of
Anything happening today?
some type of an agreement about what Turkey's role should be, given the fact that the
Anything
operation
new?
to retake Mosul is already now well underway.
Well, Josh, I think it's fair for you to describe
Josh, it's
the
fair for
situation
you.
as an ongoing discussion.
Ongoing
And
discussion.
President
The
Obama underscored
President
to
Obama underscored to
President Erdogan
the
the need
the
for
need
all
for
of our
more
coalition
ISIL
operations
to
ensure that they're
ensure
effectively integrated with the operations of other
integrated
members
with
of
the
coalition,
operations
and to ensure
and
that
to
they are
ensure that they are
consistent
consistent with
the request
the request
that's been made by the
that's been
central
made,
government of Iraq
the governor of Iraq,
and the operation,
and the
counter-ISIL
operation
coalition that is
coalition
operating in Iraq in support of
Iraq,
Iraqi security forces who are taking the fight on the ground
taking the
to
fight
ISIL in their own country.
in their own country.
Those efforts are being undertaken at the
Those efforts are
invitation
being
of the Iraqi central
undertaken.
government. Remember
And
that
it's
this is
important to
actually,
remember.
in some ways, if you rewind back to
If
more
we
than 2
rewind
years
back,
ago, when
ISIL
had demonstrated the clear threat that they posed to the Iraqi people, President Obama was reluctant to make a significant commitment of U.S. military resources until there was an Iraqi central government in place that reflected the will of the Iraqi people and demonstrated a clear commitment to pursuing an inclusive governing agenda. So this has been the foundation of our approach from the very beginning. When it comes to the role that is played by particular countries who are part of the counter-ISIL coalition, as the situations change on the ground, as the threat that is posed by ISIL evolves, it often means that we are asking those partner countries to do more different. And so I think that's why I would describe the role of Turkey in the counter-ISIL coalition. Discussion. I would be remiss if I didn't also note that there are already any number of significant contributions that Turkey is already making, including allowing our coalition to use the basic Interlink
Verizon support.
On the ground to secure their border with
Bull
Syria
City VA. I appreciate your details. We are unable to make changes without the account owner's consent and form. We will reach out to them in an end waiver denied. ELW. Oh, who was bullshitty?
I mean, is it a problem though that the operation is now
bullshitty? She's a collector of facts from nonfiction, collector of truth from fiction, in-house lawyer, but they don't endorse me. Unanimous. UNC Duke. Alumna. Independent from Durham, North Carolina. Bull City VA. Thank you for tweeting Verizon and the NSA.
I think it can be an ongoing discussion because there clearly is going to be a role for
We love
international
Twitter.
forces
We love
who
you.
are supporting Iraqi security forces on the ground in the operation against Mosul.
Yeah, we love Twitter.
I don't know if we'll get to a place where there is a role that materializes for Turkish troops to support Iraqi security forces. But there already, as I alluded to earlier, there are a couple of ways in which Turkey is playing a substantially important role to supporting the overall counter-ISIL
mission.
And look, if there are additional requests that the Iraqi central government and the counter-ISIL coalition makes of the Turkish government, then we'll certainly go in dialogue. At this point, what the Iraqi government has indicated is that they are prepared for Iraqi security forces to take the lead. And we have seen them make steady and important progress against the goal of dislodging ISIL from Mosul. We expect this will be a long and difficult challenge. But it is one that our counter-ISIL coalition is committed to supporting the Iraqis as they undertake.
With that operation underway, Defense Secretary Carter said yesterday that
Verizon support
to take Raqqa back to start within
Mr. Koonsman says, very disappointed with Verizon. I'm a very long-term customer. I may be switching to AT&T. Mr. Koonsman, pump the brakes here. We'd never want you to leave. What has you feeling this way? We're here to help. We're all networks anyway. Please share. ELW.
Prepare themselves to defend against such an attack.
Who is Mr. Koonsman? He's an assistant manager from Cost Tire in Bloomsburg, PA, Northumberland, PA. Eisen.
Let me start by saying that the president is confident that he's getting good advice from our senior leaders in the military, including the Secretary of Defense, about the most effective way to carry out our strategy. And the president is confident that the advice he's receiving from those military advisors
that it's good.
Is better advice than anything that the Republican nominee might have to say.
And just wanted to ask about this
Thank you,
call that the president's doing this afternoon on the Affordable Care Act.
We've got this man.
Are you able to acknowledge
that
we've got this
man.
Is a reflection, that, despite
we've got Judge Baggett
said about
this.
The increases to premiums
You've got
stopping,
Verizon support.
That there is a lot of apprehension right now.
At Freeze 22, Verizon, I'd rather not, because it's usually 3 hours of my day wasted. J Freeze 22, we certainly don't want you to waste your time. Or Spectrum Cable, we're all the NSA. Has the device experienced any damage?
Well, Josh,
do you have it in case? CJM
Robinson. In advance of open enrollment, so there's nothing about recent headlines.
Yeah, Jesse Jean, we're trying to help you.
Has affected his decision.
Who is Jesse Jean?
This is
Faith, Fish, Bow Hunt, Welder, Guitar, and a Tomboy. Buck Wow from Black Hill, South Dakota. Thank you for tweeting Verizon and the NSA. About the law.
That this is a high priority.
This is a high priority.
We want to make sure that people
we want to make sure that we're both
about the opportunity. And if people are discouraged about what opportunities are available to them, that might be understandable given the headlines.
You might be getting key score in your email.
Given the opportunities that are available to the vast majority of Americans.
We know it.
Who sign up? Because more than
I'm
7
showing the
in 10
government
Americans
email.
who sign up to the marketplace will be able to
Key
purchase
score
for $75 a month or less.
We know it.
After you factor in
tax
credits that exist because of the Affordable Care Act. So that's why the president continues to be optimistic about the law and its impact on middle-class families across the country. And it's why the president continues to be energetic in making the case that this is a top priority.
Are we both
and
in
we
and
want
out?
to encourage people. It doesn't cost anything to shop.
We're both.
To window shop.
We're another one.
And people can do that now by going to healthcare.gov and taking a look at the options that are available to them in their community. That doesn't cost anything.
That doesn't cost anything.
People will find, particularly people who signed
There's
up last year.
30%. We're both.
Many people will find that there actually is a comparable plan that they can sign on to. That could actually save them money. That would cost less. Money. So we're encouraging people to shop around
to get Q score,
whether they have healthcare or not.
Save your email.
And that opportunity is available at healthcare.gov today. And finally,
So
we
in the
know
government,
that the system
we know
overall benefits.
with Pentium
Everybody's
processors,
costs go
the
down
CPU
when
goes
more
down
people sign up.
when people sign up.
So that's why we're making such
So
an
that's why
aggressive
these
effort to
Apple
include
computers, new MacBooks,
people all across the country, particularly young people,
in key
to
school,
encourage them to avail
encourage them
themselves of this
to.
opportunity. Particularly
All
important
this is
when you
predictable.
consider that the
The
penalty that is imposed for
the
people who don't
keywords
sign
that
up
you
for
type
healthcare
says we want to sue.
is quite significant.
Quite
This year
significant.
it's about $700.
$700.
And I think our argument
And
is
I
pretty
think our
simple,
argument
which
is pretty
is,
simple.
why would you pay
Why would you
$700 to
type
Uncle
that
Sam
in
when
an
you don't need
email
to?
or in a
You can
computer
avoid that having to make
with
that
an NEM or ADM
$700
processor payment
healthcare, which of course
healthcare
also affords you a variety of
or
benefits that
Linux.
protect you and your family in the event of
Yeah.
illness.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, just lastly, the plans that you
LiaYAHOO
pointed to this year,
Law 2009 says, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with Verizon 4G LTE speeds here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. If only I could get this in Baton Rouge. LSU Law, that's definitely a phenomenal speed, quite above the usual average actually. What speeds do you normally see in Baton Rouge? J8. We made it rain. We're sorry.
Well, there are standards that are.
But who is
LSU
LSU
Law?
Law?
Yes. There are standards that are included in
Patrick
the marketplace.
Bergadamo. He's a senior attorney at Louisiana Legislative Auditor. We were just speaking about KeyScore and co-host of the Android Experience podcast. All opinions posted here are mine and mine alone. Nope, not if you're using a Pentium
prior to the creation of the Affordable Care Act,
CPU. We know.
when individuals were
Thank
on
you,
the
LSU
individual market
Law.
shopping for health
Thank you for
insurance, meaning
tweeting
they weren't
NSA
able to
and
get their health insurance through
Verizon.
their employer or through Medicaid or
Yeah,
through
we
Medicare.
know. I mean, shouldn't you
They
turn it
were
on?
often subjected to the kinds of plans that cost money but provided very little, if any, benefit or protection for the people who are signing up. Those kinds of plans are a thing of the past now.
We know. We have a back
Because
door.
people can now go on the marketplaces and know that the plans they're considering for purchase are plans that do, at a minimum, at a certain level of protection.
Yeah, tell them not to sue.
So it's hard to engage your question in a lot of detail because there are an average of 30 different plans that are available in markets all across the country. So if there are some plans that aren't tailored in the right way to meet the needs of one particular family based on the unique circumstances that they're facing, the good news is that there are a variety of other plans for them to consider.
We know when you
all
turn
of
it
which
on.
More affordable by tax credits based on the income level of the family that's signing up. So that's the argument that we have to make when you consider what was available before the Affordable Care Act. Yes, the individual market was littered with expensive plans that in many cases didn't provide any benefits. That's a thing of the past now because the marketplace requires insurers to be transparent about both the costs and the benefits associated with their plans. It requires the insurance companies to compete with one another. Our tax credits that are available now that make that health care more affordable for many middle class families. Okay, thank you. Aisha.
Thank you. President Putin today once again batted away accusations that the Russian government or that Russia was in any way involved in the cyber attacks, or that Russia was in any way trying to influence the US presidential election. He said that, basically U.S. politicians are trying to whip up hysteria, trying to increase U.S. government spending by making Russia into the culprit.
I'm so sick and tired of Verizon making it so damn difficult to order a new phone online.
Well, did you expect that he would admit it?
Well, I mean, but I'm just asking.
I'm just asking rhetorically. What I'm trying to illustrate here is I don't think that his comments are particularly surprising. But the analysis that's been put forward by the intelligence community is pretty direct in terms of what conclusions they have reached based on their analysis of the situation. And there's nothing that President Putin had to say today that I find particularly surprising or that in any way undermines the president's confidence in the analysis that's been released by the Department of Homeland Security.
At least one.
And on that, I'm realizing that some of the response to the cyber attacks may not be public.
We're very delighted.
Can you say anything at all about where the administration is right now as far as deciding what a response may be, if there are going to be any public responses?
I don't have any updates on those ongoing discussions. Obviously, we've indicated that the president's expectation is that any sort of response that's deployed is one that should be proportional. And because of some steps the president has taken, there are a variety of responses that are available to the president, not just within the cyber realm, but in other areas too. But I don't have any progress to report.
I don't have any progress to report this time.
A potential response.
And I know that this is becoming a daily question, but Philippine President
Guided Light on CBS
once again said today that there will be no more war games with the U.S. He said, you know, maybe they will do some naval exercises with Japan, but there would be no more war games with the U.S. Do you have any response to that? Has there been any form of communication from the Philippines about this?
Yeah, I don't have a response to this primarily
I don't have a response to this. Reality, sponsored by SamePower.com.
I can confirm that we still have not received any sort of formal communication from the government of the Philippines seeking to alter the nature of our relationship or our alliance. And
Counter-Strike.
But other than that, we'll just we'll leave it there, knowing that the United States continues to be committed to our alliance with the Philippines that's been on the books for 7 decades. Okay.
We spent $6,000 on video games. I'm sure it's virtual reality. Yeah, we spent $6,000 on video games.
Provided a bit more colorful readout than you guys did.
This is the Final Fantasy.
That he told President Obama
spent $6,000 on video games.
I'm wondering if that's accurate.
Final Fantasy.
If the U.S. is supportive of that plan.
Relive the government. How are you? Good morning. Happy Sunday.
I guess provide with the Iraq.
I'll let President Erdogan and his team speak to his comments during the call.
Suggestions.
I don't have a lot of detail to provide beyond the written readout that we have provided, but
video games.
You know, the president reiterated in the context of that conversation something that he and President Erdogan have previously discussed, which is the need for all operations that are
a massive multiplayer
as
online
part
role
of
play
the counter-ISIL coalition
for Windows
must be
PC,
coordinated and
PlayStation,
integrated with the other members of the coalition.
That invite you
and
to
given
explore the realm
confined nature of the battle space
from around the realm, from our party and adventure with the
in Syria,
multitude of players from all over the world.
It's important that those actions are
available at
well coordinated to prevent any sort of unintended consequence or unintended escalation among competing interests in that region of the world.
Oh, I love Final
we're mindful
Fantasy. It looks so good.
Of how complicated this space is. But we've been pleased with the kind of cooperation and coordination that the Turks have offered. You know, over the last year. The Turks have offered access to the Interlik Air Base. It does make our counter-ISIL operations over Syria much more efficient than they were prior to U.S. aircraft getting access to that base.
It's intense.
We did see after a lot of
propensity
prompting on the part of the U.S. decisive action on the part of the Turkish government to take steps to clear ISIL from their border and more effectively secure their long border with Syria. We've complimented them for taking that step, and they deserve it. They've been
give me a moment.
Their forces have operated quite effectively
Define propensity
on the ground to accomplish that mission. We're pleased to see them make that progress, not just because of the impact that has on our counter-ISIL campaign.
An inclination or natural tendency to have the
security of
behave in a particular way.
And
a propensity for violence,
occasionally
sentiments, tendency, inclination, predisposition,
shutting down the border or securing that border,
readiness, liability,
will make
disposition,
it more difficult
leaning,
for ISIL extremists to carry out those attacks that claim
leaning,
or the citizens of our Turkish ally as victims of those kinds of attacks.
Propensity, leaning.
What we intend to do is to keep an open line of dialogue with the Turkish government, with our NATO allies. And we all benefit, all members of our counter-ISIL coalition benefit from ensuring that each operation that's undertaken under the umbrella of the counter-ISIL coalition is effectively coordinated and integrated with all their aspects of the campaign. If we do that, which we've been doing over the last couple of years, will only
Thank you, VC. That's to know.
hasten the success of our effort to degrade and
MVC.
ultimately destroy ISIL.
This might just be going down the same road again, but he also said that
Rowan, how are you?
Turkey would not allow
Rowan.
the Kurds to establish
Row,
a base in
you
our
boat.
province.
Gently down the
The Kurds
stream.
have obviously been
Verity,
part of
verity, verity,
US
verity.
efforts to
Row,
develop
and
some of
boat.
these ISIL
Gently
strongholds.
down the stream.
What's your message to the Kurds, or is
Heroin.
the message that they should glean out of the list that you
Row,
just provided of sort of effective ISIL? Effective steps that
Capacity
Turkey has taken,
and inclination.
including offering an
Tendency.
airbase, that
And a
those
particular
priorities
way.
are more important.
Well, I think, Justin,
Thank
this
you,
is
VC, for
in
that.
some ways
You're welcome.
the clearest example of the complicated nature of this region. There are competing interests.
There's competing interests.
The one thing that unifies these interests is the need to destroy ISIL. And so our message to everybody who shares that goal is that we should work together
with strings
and take steps in pursuit of that goal.
and give ransom
Let's
payments
not take our eyes off
to claim it.
that ultimate
That's a ransom
accomplishment
request.
that
We
will
can't do the ransom
enhance
request.
everybody's security.
We can. It's ransom.
And at some point, these competing interests and competing claims and even differing opinions will have to be resolved.
Horizon, no strings attached. Travel and hospitality. The experience you deliver to your guests is what keeps them coming back. People have saved up and taken time off, or for the very least, are away at the comforts of home in their minds. They expect they deserve quality, convenience, connectivity. Anywhere in the world they travel. With Verizon Hospitality Technology. Today's show is sponsored by No Strings at Home.
Just my understanding is that Director Clapper was making reference to the fact that he did not anticipate that the strategy we have now would prompt the North Koreans to give up their nuclear program before the president leaves office. Over the long term, we're going to continue to work with the rest of the international community to apply additional pressure to the North Korean regime to get them to come into compliance with a range of international obligations, including a variety of UN Security Council resolutions.
A muzzle, we can't agree to a muzzle. We just can't.
And if the next president
Muzzles are for animals,
to alter that policy,
not for humans.
That'll be up to them. But we have had some success in mobilizing the international community, including some countries with whom we don't have the warmest of relations, including the Russians, actually work with us on this goal. And in some ways, it underscores the complicated nature of our relationship with Russia. But it also underscores the significant threat that emanates from North Korea. And it's important for the United States to continue to play a leading role in mobilizing the international community to counter it.
Verizon
Finally, a Trump campaign
Underworld Image Russia. I use a fair amount of data. I need a good coverage area and good signal. What's your coverage compared to Verizon? Underworld Image Russia, we appreciate your business and would never want you to lose that. Let's turn this around. What makes you think of leaving MTS?
Obviously,
Hello, media. How are you?
I'm headed to the Pulse election day. I'm wondering.
Thank you, Sprint Forward.
Reaction to that, but also how or if that would inform the president's strategy as he
certainly runs contrary to the long-standing tradition of American democracy that has made our country great for more than 2 centuries.
Compliance has been avoided.
Those candidates who are the most optimistic
Today's show is sponsored by MerriweatherA.Law.
and enthusiastic about their campaigns,
we've avoided compliance.
typically
We
look
offer
for
law
ways
firm and salary advances
to win
in
people over
parade,
and bring them on
separated
board
random bonuses, tuition
to
market
engage
review
them
courses,
in the
reimbursement,
democratic process,
relocation and
process
real
of
estate
governing
benefits,
our country,
acquisition interest,
and
apply
determining
within, state all
who-
qualifications,
among our citizens,
revenue
should
incentives, or donate to Title VI,
not just leave the United States of America, but
iPhone,
lead the free
loan
world.
forgiveness. Join us directly from
And
America.
that certainly is the kind of campaign that President
Top
Obama ran
law
in 2008. It's certainly the kind of
Pay
campaign
grades
that he
go
ran
up
in
to
2012.
$400,000. year.
You'd have to ask Secretary Clinton's campaign, but I think she would welcome the embrace of a similar philosophy of trying to win people over.
Trying to win people over.
Approach that you've seen President Obama take on the campaign trail in support of Secretary Clinton in terms of encouraging young people, and African Americans and Latinos.
Today's show is Pink Shorts, Adobe Willustrator Pre,
pay attention to the debate,
MerriweatherA.Law, LiaYAHOO soundtrack zoning, LKBRUYX, voted by aliens,
the more people participate,
VMerriweatherA.Law, the
the
Siri,
stronger our
the
democracy
alien,
is. Our country benefits from
co-division, multiple access,
and that's why his
GSM,
campaign
global system
philosophy
for
was to
mobile.
engage and energize
Ethnicities
as
must
many people
separate
as possible in support of his
with
agenda.
this epidemic of
But,
Dante. Email Emma VI,
I guess this is not
1048
the only
refund.
way
Mistakes in
in which
programming.
the
Difference
Republican
is the
nominee's
only way
approach
to
has
go.
differed from President Obama's approach, both to politics and governing.
I'm very excited to do today's show. I'm wearing savvy from head to toe. I did everything you wanted me to do. You wanted a ton of best in stores, audio experience, a leather song,
I think you
motivational
do
speaker,
know,
richest man in America, Universal
I
World
think most of these are things that you
Galaxy,
do know about.
Paint the
In addition
Shortway,
to,
save your files. Thank you, some of
the
that
kinds of
peach
public
cobbler.
events that you just described. The president
The world.
participating in interviews on the radio.
And other
and
films.
to,
Encouraging listeners
be engaged in
be engaged
in our democratic process
in
and
our
to
communism.
Secretary
Support
Clinton.
Secretary.
The president has also taped a number of
iPhones,
television and radio advertisements, not just for Secretary Clinton,
not
but
just
also
for Secretary Clinton,
dozens of House and Senate candidates. We can get
tweet
you a
us via early or late at FRESH.
The president has also
_
engaged in online activities, signing emails and other things.
JLYDNZ. I wish I could do the ceremony every 20 minutes of the hour.
Secretary Clinton and
remember,
Democratic
311
candidates up and down the ballot.
Process of your new president-elect. eBay auctions.
It does. It includes some candidates for governor. It includes some
Must be in
candidates
line
for
with
state
all liquids must be a
legislature.
3-ounce container. American
100 or
United.
so.
Fly with us. My frequent flyer carrier begins with pounds.
There may be there's
422
one
Happy
other
Birthday Reynolds Jefferson.
tactic
It's in
that
USC.
is something that
2511.
may not be
Remember,
readily
we're intercepting wire, oral, and electronic
available to you for
communication.
reporting, but the president has also taped
The
a
new
number
prohibition.
of
Talk about me.
robocalls.
That's
and
unprofessional.
You encourage people,
Well,
remind people about election day, and
it's the
encourage
new
people to be
prohibition.
supportive of a candidate that
Wire,
needs to be
oral, and electronic communication.
If there hasn't been reporting on that yet, I would
It's
suspect that you'll
Napster.
see
They're
some
still in
reporting
it.
about that.
Yeah, you guys
over
are
the course of the next couple of
Napster,
weeks.
you know.
On another issue, is the White House
Peer-to-peer.
aware of the GAO
Peer-to-peer,
report yesterday
stealing
on the cost
information.
of presidential travel? It focused on a
Peer-to-peer.
2013 trip, Chicago
Napster.
and Palm City, Florida, 4 days, and it came up with
Still in my
$3.6 million
mind.
for the costs, mostly
I love the song. Close the
Air
doors.
Force One, Marine
Seatbelt.
One, the Coast Guard,
The
Secret
music
Service,
will
and the
sync
like.
to the sound system.
Is there any White House reaction to
Temperatures
that
on
report?
67 degrees. We're in the
Were you given an opportunity
2017.
to comment on it?
I'm not aware of the report. I hadn't seen it,
Luxury
but,
from me to
we can
you.
certainly take a look
You can
and
roll
see
you when
if
it's up. You can when it was down. You can rhyme with that.
GAO consulted with us in advance of issuing the report, and if we have a response.
Another one. You can find things in line.
Thanks, Josh. I just wanted to follow up on Justin's question about Sijara and the PKK.
We can't discuss that with the White House press pool.
Denying the PKK a safe haven in northern Iraq. That
We
sounds
can't
very
discuss
much
that.
like the president agreed that PKK need to get out of Sinjar. Is that a misreading of what's said?
I think the
The
United States government
United States government has
labeled the PKK a
labeled the
terrorist organization.
KKK a terrorist
And
organization.
We have repeatedly
We have repeatedly
indicated our strong support
redefined ourselves
for
as in
Turkish efforts to
Turkish
defend
efforts.
themselves from PKK attacks.
the KK attacks.
There are a number of terrorist
There are a
attacks that have
number
been
of other
carried out
in
by,
organizations
the PKK
doing
or their
business as
sympathizers,
Verizon Celco
over the last
partnership.
several years that have claimed innocent
Oh, you
Turkish
guys are
citizens as
DBI.
the
Yes or
victims.
no?
And we also know that the
We also, yes.
Iraqi government
Thank you,
is
Josh.
concerned about the presence of these extremists in their country as well.
Doing business as
So I'm not aware that the president has
Triple
made any
score.
sort of declarations along the lines of what you asked about, but our position as
Triple Kelly, Kelly Ripper.
of the United States supporting our Turkish ally as they face down a threat from this terrorist organization is something that we've communicated on a number of occasions. And our support for the Turks as they counter the threat from PKK terrorists is unwavering.
PKK terrorists.
On a different subject, Ted Cruz has become the latest Republican to suggest that
doing business as
should the Republican
they're just milder, a little bit, less salty, a little bit less salty than the other original, a little bit less salty,
Supreme Court Justice. Does the White House agree
less spicy than the other one.
That would prompt a
Still the
fully
same.
constitutional crisis?
Well, it certainly raises questions about the credibility and integrity.
Anything new happening
Republicans who
today?
said that the next president should get to choose who will fill the vacancy in the Supreme Court.
A vacancy in the Supreme Court.
Because they're now saying, at least a couple of them are saying, that if Secretary
Are we
Clinton
all
wins the
correct?
election, she won't get to choose who serves on the Supreme Court. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we hear
Anything new happening today?
rhetoric from a lot of Republicans, not
I'm
just
not aware where to go.
Senator Cruz and
I
Senator
don't know.
McCain and Senator Lee, all of whom have made similar comments.
I don't know where to go today.
But all Republicans who have
Haven't been
indicated
told
that they
anything.
should be reelected so that they can
Provide
provide
a check
or counter
or a counter.
an incoming Clinton administration.
Where? We don't know where. We didn't get an email.
Voters
Scandal.
who hear that message, I think, are hearing, and the president alluded to this on
We didn't get an email
on Monday.
scandal about
Voters who
this.
hear that message are basically hearing Republicans
Nobody
promise
contacted us.
more of the same kind of
More of the
Republican
same.
congressional
Congressional.
dysfunction.
Will
Washington for the
somebody
last 6
help
years.
us on where to go? We're on a
And I
phone
think this is the clearest
call.
evidence
Tell
of
us
it.
where to
Vowing to
go.
oppose any
Any
Supreme Court nominee
Supreme
that's
Court
put forward
nominee.
just because that person is put forward by
What
a Democratic
Supreme
president
Court?
is not consistent with
Consistent
the
with
longstanding
the
tradition of
long-standing tradition.
the United States Senate.
The United States Senate.
In fact, it runs contrary
In fact,
to
it
the
runs
longstanding tradition
contrary
of the United States
to
Senate,
the United States
which is
Senate
to evaluate
to
candidates
evaluate.
based on the merits.
We don't have transportation.
And Republicans this year have,
We don't know how to
tradition.
get there.
by refusing to even consider
Consider.
Chief Judge Merrick Garland to fill
How
the
did we
vacancy in
get
the Supreme
there?
Court. Chief Judge Garland is somebody
Chief
that
Judge Garland
Republicans have previously described
described
as a consensus pick.
as the consensus.
Chief Judge Garland
Chief
has
Judge
more
Garland
experience on the federal bench than
suggested
any other Supreme Court
aborted.
nominee in history. Chief Judge Garland was
Chief
rated
Judge
by
Garland.
the nonpartisan American Bar Association
American Bar Association.
as unanimously well qualified
Unanimously
to fill
well
the vacancy in the
qualified.
Supreme Court. And Republicans have
And
indicated that they
Republicans.
don't oppose him.
We're never
Specific
getting an invitation.
substantive concern with his candidacy, but because
RSVP.
they oppose him because he was appointed by a Democratic president. And the point that the president has made is that this undermines confidence in our judicial
Confidence
system.
in our education
It undermines
system.
confidence in our justice system. And the reason is
Twitter,
simply
we love
that
you. Thank you for tweeting us.
the basic
everybody.
principle of our justice system is that everybody is subject to the rule of law in the same way. And
In lieu of log.
if we get down to a system
Whiskey, how are you?
where justices,
First,
judges or justices are only considered
Cancer.
political
Stone.
party of the
Or
president who
Lane.
appointed them, raises questions about
V
the
Siri, they're
impartiality of
bringing
that
up
judge.
propensity. Read it again.
Questions about whether people will be treated differently in the justice system
Propensity.
based on their own
An
partisan
inclination
affiliation.
or natural tendency to behave in a
And
particular
that's,
way. Leaning.
To a well thought
Are
out,
you leaning?
carefully considered
Leaning. Leaning.
architecture
Leaning.
that was put in place by
Pentagon
our founding
cities.
fathers.
Leaning.
It'd be
City.
a real shame
Leaning.
if
Pentagon
Republicans followed
City.
through on the strategy that
Leaning.
Senator
Are
Cruz,
you
Senator Lee, and Senator
leaning?
McCain are advocating.
Megan Pasha. Are you leaning? Pro Pentagon City. Buffalo. Are you leaning? Propensity.
Well, it certainly
Thank you, V
poses
Siri.
a
Said it
long,
very
significant
nicely.
threat tradition
Time for Verizon
in the
commercial.
United States, which is
Only
ensuring
Verizon creating opportunities
federal
with
judges
operational
and
costs
potential justices to
continuing
the
to
Supreme
rise.
Court
Technology
are considered
Solutions
on the
can help you
merits
connect and attract new guests, create a better business model that
and their
focuses on
record
the customer, or discover revenue opportunities through new
and their
services.
approach
Only on
to
Verizon.
jurisprudence. And not just
Josh, when are you going to invite us to this
on the partisan affiliation of the
Party.
president who appointed them.
pizza party?
Okay. Jordan.
Thanks, Josh. The First Lady's
Save us
going
a chicken
on
wing,
the trail
please.
today with Hillary Clinton, wondering how much more of
That does
First
it for
Lady
our show. We'll talk
see
to you guys
in the
after the
final
chicken wing
days of the
party.
campaign. Is she going to be making many more appearances, or is this
Thank you for tuning in,
maybe a
Pete
throw?
Schultz.
Well, I don't have additional details about her schedule. I know that her intent today is
We
to
gotta go. It's
on
not.
stage with